just do a short demonstration. This is how I would tie a nose button, and I know that's been showed before, but I'll just tie a short one. And what I'm really going to show is when I come back with my interweave, you can build that nose button up to an over 3 with the same strings, and then go on and continue on with your interweave. So it's kind of handy if you're not using a colored string. So when I do it, I put my long strings out to the left. This is 6 strings. I usually go like 2/3 and 1/3. Somewhere in there. And I start these always the same. And like I said, I got my shorts here, my longs here, because these strings are going to be worked another pass more than the other one. I just start them in my hand. I lay them all hair side up. I come up under this one, over, under, and I just lay it behind this finger. Then I come up and bring this one under, lay it behind there. Come up under this one. I'm kind of pulling it under tight so that thing kind of has kind of a curve to it. It's just not all flat. Coming under that one, then under my last one. So I've got them all arranged here. This top one comes out here. Then I take a minute to kind of make them all kind of curved and around, kind of sort of the same. They look like a basket weave. Then I take just a second to shove them all up there so that everything's kind of got about the same space between them. They can tend to be way long on the side that you got here. So I got 5 and 5 and then my 2 here. Then when I'm ready, I go to my base. I'll just put this on around here. Gonna curve this one around. In my first one, it's gonna be an under. Get them all arranged. Take a minute to do this right. And I always like to start with an under. So once I get them arranged, I'm going to work it around to where I'm in the center. I've got my first 2 little squares lined up with my line here. And I'm going to reach under this one. And then I just use my thumb kind of ahead of my strings. Everything over one, under one. And then I lay it across. Then I take a second to work these all up around again. Keep everything kind of square. I don't shove everything up this way. I want everything to be kind of natural angle. Most of these bites kind of the same size. This is just what I use, except he makes them real small, just really light. Well, I've got some of these size too, but they're really nice fids. So I'm gonna, when I get going here, I want to make dang sure, I think a common problem is that these ends always want to pull off around our bases when we tie. So I'm going to make dang sure this is the cross I'm going to come under when I put my herringbone interweaver. Pineapple is what it's going to be actually. So I want to make sure that I've got enough room for that string when it comes up through there and is going to be an interweave string, that it sets above that shoulder of my base. And so I'm going to go ahead and just give that enough room up there. And I'm going to continue to do that as I go down. Every now and then I'm going to go up there and just make sure I've got some slack up here. If you tie that framework too tight, everybody always thinks that these knots are going to get longer as we build them up, but they get shorter. The more strings I work into that thing, the shorter that knot wants to be. So then I'm going to continue around, come under that string, and then just work my thumb through there, lift the strings that need to be under and push down the ones that need to be over, and just lay it across there. And what I'm looking for is this cross that I just made with those 2 strings. I want that to lay right on my line. And I just hang on to that with my thumb while I'm arranging everything else. And I hang on to the bottom 4 strings. I don't care if I'm using 6 strings or 8 strings or 10 strings or 12 strings. I hang on to my bottom 4 strings and the rest of them fall down natural. If I try to hang on to them and keep them down here, the back of my foundation is always going to be wider and not have the same angle as my front. So I just let them fall, and it can be confusing but they got to be where they are, and I just let them fall and hang on to my 4. So when I'm ready to go to the other side, I hang on to that cross with this thumb now, reach under, come under, over, under, over, under, over, lay that across. Then I arrange, hang on to that, and go to the other side. Come under, over, under, over, under, over. Lay that across. I'm going at the natural angle that these strings want to go. What I'm looking for is to have all of these squares or diamonds lined up on my deal, on my line. Have them all be the same distance this way as that way, and have this look like a I want some angle to this. It's basically a 90, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I don't want it any wider out than that because I don't like that look at all. I'd rather have it 90 or a little steeper. So I'm just working those strings. I'm keeping those where they kind of need to be back, and then I'm just letting them fall down. Like I say, I'm only keeping a hold of those 4.
Keep everything snug but not tight.
I do, yeah. I'm not pulling anything singing tight because I've got to come back through this thing several more times, and I want it to be dang sure nice and tight when I'm done, but I don't want to have to force strings through this knot.
Right.
Because there's a fine line. I mean, too tight a knot to me is uglier than too loose a knot. I'd rather have a little room in that thing and have everything laying where it's supposed to be than forcing an extra string through a knot. That makes them crooked. It makes everything wadded up and bunched up looking. You got to roll the heck out of them to try to make them look like anything. I'd rather have a little room in a button and have everything laying where it should be than to try to force a knot to be too tight. And I don't tie any nose buttons when Pablo Lozano's around.
That's the challenge.
He's a distraction, yeah.
I'm dangerous.
Very dangerous. I'm not making a big deal about these. I'm just trying to make sure that everything stays coming down here and doesn't drift too far off. I'll take a minute when I'm done and have it turned back and tied off to make sure everything's exactly right. Now down here I'm getting to some more swell, so it's really important to keep your strings where they're supposed to be and not get everything bunched up to the front. You got to get more room in your crosses or diamonds down here because you've got more base, and you need to do that all the way around. If you try to keep them the same, the back ones are going to be twice as big, and these are going to be that same size. So and when I get down into this stuff, I'm still trying to keep everything at exactly the same angle. So I'm going to lay that one in there where it should be and just try to keep everything the same angle, even as I'm allowing a little more room down there. And I go on past a pretty good ways. till I have everything locked down, and at least all of these strings are arranged around my swell here on the end. I might run out of dowel here and have to turn it back a little more, but the main thing is keeping everything arranged as I go, and that gives me half a chance of having a decent nose button when I'm done, rather than trying to tie one into something that is not a really good framework, and then trying to fix it as I'm going, or when I get done, or trying to rolling things into place or whatever.
All that fighting out of it, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, you can't really fight with them. But I'm going to go on past quite a few passes, a couple inches generally, usually, just arranging them the same way. Because if I'm 2 inches past on the front, I'm just going to be getting into the back there where everything is around there, and where it will be when I turn it back. I could use a piece of that waxed string too, please.
It isn't wax, but it's.
That's fine. It could be anything. When I get past enough to where everything's holding, I'm going to go ahead. I think I've gone enough here. Plus I'm running out of base. Okay. And that's the first time I let that thing go, because it's just good to get to this point. Now we can go get another coffee.
Or if they have any.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good idea.
And this is just going to hold this all in place while I do whatever else. So I'll put a couple on here. Okay. Now we can sit down in the chair and have the coffee and do the stuff. But so I've kind of worked hard at just keeping everything fairly straight and square as I go, and allow for some room here. And then I'm gonna spend my time here now making sure that I've got that room up here we talked about, because this is the cross I'm going to be coming under. I want that room up here. So I'm going to make sure I have that slack. I'm going to make sure that these things are all pretty well lined up in a row all the way down here. They're pretty good on this side, and you can have a line for each set of strings. Like this is a 6-string knot. I just had Clint put 4 on here just to have a point of reference, but you could definitely put 6. Now this, when I get down here and I get to these open spots, you can count if you want to. I usually have a midpoint, and I'll count how many go back to this far end and try to turn it back and have the same there. But this one, I'm not going to get this thing loose like that. If I counted them, this one would be right about here. So I'm going to want to pull this back this way and work these back up to get my slack from here, rather than try to get everything square from here, because I'll just screw up what once was a pretty good straight deal. Okay, that's good enough for our purposes, but I'll spend as much time as I need there to get a framework that I know is going to end up okay. When I go to turn this thing back, I'm going to pull out, these are my long strings running this way that I worked. So I'm going to find a spot on here where I've got a long string. I'll start here, and I'm going to decide where I want to turn it back. And I'm just going to show you how I do it. We've discussed it, different ways, but when I laid those strings out, I came under every string to make my little basket deal. When I go back into my knot, I'm going to go over this string and alongside the string to its left. So if I came all the way back to where I think the end of my base is and turn that back, to me that's going to pull out away. I want plenty of room up here just like I had up here, and maybe even more.
Yep.
So where I would turn this string back is probably going to be right here. When I've done some fine ones with a lot of strings and stuff, I may be up here to turn that thing back. And by the time I get everything pulled down and laid out ready to run back the other way, I'm back here with just enough room. That's as close as I want to turn that thing back. I'm not going to be right up here on my base, and I wouldn't hurt my feelings even if I was up here probably, because I can work that back and make everything centered. So when I go back, I'm going to go over this string, under this one, and up alongside that one to its left. And I'll usually make 2 passes there. Okay, and I work backwards again as I go because I can see what's ahead of me and can do it there. To me, it's more confusing up here. So I'm going to pull this next string back just at the same point where the other one was. And I'm going to turn back this one back here. Is this what you're doing, Clint? Just, you might braid yours the opposite way.
No, I leave out one step there. You're going over one and under.
Right.
And
I'm going under to get back in the knot,
Right.
and I'm following the string to my
that's what I'm
left.
talking. I go under there to get back in. I'm over one, then under one, just
Yep.
like you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're doing
Yep.
it.
Yep.
The only thing I'm doing different is like Marty does it. I
You go
take-
the other way.
I
See,
take-
you're on the other side of the world.
Yeah,
though.
my two, yeah, right. My 2/3 length, so to speak, is
Mm-hmm.
on my right side, and I go back up that.
Well, that's a
way
European method.
Yeah.
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 This is Crow Res here.
I did like Marty does it one time, and my knot for that bar was just as crooked as could be.
Really?
Yeah, and with this multiple string knot, I mean, this is like a mirror image from here. I mean,
Yeah.
you can tie it one way or the other, whichever you're comfortable to. I mean, I'm left-handed, and I don't know if this is left-handed or what it is, but it's just the way. But going the opposite direction using the same steps isn't going to change anything.
Well,
And,
it did for me.
the other thing
It's
for
funny
me is
that-
like over here,
Mm-hmm.
you go under that one immediately,
Right?
and I
When you
go-
arrange them, you mean?
Yeah, and I go over.
You go like the book says,
Hmm.
like he does in the book.
It's funny that
And I'm not pulling these
you're
singing
left-handed,
tight
You
either.
do it this way, but I'm right-handed, but because I learned from you, I do it this way
Oh.
too.
Well, it's always better to do it left-handed.
Right.
So I turn each one of these back, give them a couple of passes. Again, if I'm using little bitty fine string or something, I might get a little more just because to hang on. And this last one is it can be a little more confusing, but you're gonna be under these two. It looks like a double just because you've gone over that string already, but it's the same thing. You'll go over that bite and under that string to go back into your knot. So now we're turned back, and we're gonna just start working these strings to the other end of our button and making our doubles. When we come back, we're going to split doubles. And at that point, that's when we can decide what we're going to do with interweaves and herringbone or gaucho or whatever we want to do. But at this point here, I'm going to take these strings and I'm going to pull them opposite of one another. And that's just working my slack down to keep everything straight and square. If I just pull on these until everything gets good, I've already turned that thing about a quarter of a turn. And wonder why, man, I had a good straight foundation. Why did my button, well, getting everything right. And I'm not even above, I might take one of these strings out here and make dang sure I've got that space and area right there. And if I'm really worried about it, I might work these under my cross first and then just tie them back so that they're pulling on a string under there and everything still stays around there. I won't do that here, but it dang sure not a bad thing. Plus your strings are all the same temper right now. By the time I get down here and turn back and then go to work these strings back, these things have been dry for about another hour.
Yep.
You got to soap them back up. So at this point here, taking them back and running them through that cross, if I'm going to do a pineapple interweave, is not a bad thing. Or I could even work them here and come under my gaucho to do a gaucho. But either way, it's not a bad time to do that and then just tie them back out of the way. And then this end should look a lot like this end. So now the next step is just to run these strings to the end.
And you take your long strings up and back.
Yep. Yep, they'll be up and back. And usually what I'll do is I'll just run all these out into a line here. And if when I get to this point, when I have everything run out there along next to one another, and I'm not seeing any base underneath there, everything's just laying, but it's not crowded, everything's just laying right next to the one next to it naturally, I think I'm going to end up with a pretty good button if I'm just going over 2 under 2. So, you know, that's all looking pretty good to me, string size and wise and stuff.
Something you can do, something that I do there at the house, and I know Nate does it too, is I'll get my strings and I'll grease them, put saddle soap on or whatever I'm gonna use, and I'll cycle them back up, and I'll cut the points on the ends. I turn my string over so the flesh side is up and the hair side is down, and I point them. And what that does is that gives me a point that'll go through my button, or if I'm doing this, it'll just naturally follow that point. If you point it with the flesh down and the hair side up and point them from right to left,
Right.
it seems like it'll just kind of catch and just won't quite go through quite as easily.
Like putting a horseshoe nail in back.
Exactly. And also, is what I'll do is I'll put them in a sack and a baggie, and I let the point stick out 3 or 4 inches, and that'll harden and be just like a needle, so that I don't have to.
Yeah, well, string
make it
this
go a lot
size,
easier.
yeah, your pointed tip, if it's a little dry, it's pretty much like a needle. Lighter string, I always have a bunch of those little brass screw-on needles, and I've got them shaped like I want them. I file on them, get them like little fids kind of, and flatten the ends out a little bit, and I'll screw them on the end and work one string down, and they work pretty good.
I do quite a bit of work with Zap-A-Gap cyanoacrylate. It comes in 3 different densities. There's a medium, and there's a real thick one. There's one that's thinner than water, and you can take about 2 inches of the end of your string and just squirt that on it, and it's like a rock.
Sometimes when I get here, I'll get everything lined out and good to go. I'll just take one last look at that end. And if I've got one that I feel like might be pulling on me a little, I might get a little slack there, even if I have to work it back. Or if I've got something that looks like it's not down, I'll just work a little bit and make sure that everyone looks like the one before it. Everything's got room to go under a cross here and all of that. And then I'll just continue to work my way down. This shouldn't take too long. It's just repetition now until we get to the other end, and then I'll show you what I wanted to show you anyways. And you can work one string, skip a string, you know, work them alternate, or I usually, if I've got everything fitting pretty good, I'll just make a couple passes with each string, go down the line, and work them that way. Or you can work one plumb around to the other end and go take another one. And just whatever feels good to you. Kind of seems to me like if I'm working them down and laying them alongside one another, I'm getting to see that everything is laying in next to itself pretty decent. And again, I'm not sucking these things down as tight as I can suck them down. I just want them to lay in there good and be snug, but I got to come back through there again. I like to take up just enough room by the time I'm done to have it look right. And I just hate a bunched up too tight knot. And you can check your crosses as you're going too and make sure that things are staying, that you're not pushing everything out of shape. This is going to be a little snug if we turn that back again and go over 3 in that end, isn't it, with that string, but we'll it'll be okay for demonstration. Because actually, if this thing, well, we got some room there, but if this was all over 2 under 2, it's probably going to be just about perfect. If this thing is feeling dry to me, or starting to, I'll go ahead and just mist it down a little bit as I go, or put a little more soap on the strings, or nah, I think I'll be all right as fast as we're going here and getting her done. See that tape, Haverty, just drives me up a wall. It's grabbing my fid. Slides on that plain leather so good.
But I thought you'd like that light color. It just kind of lightens everything.
I do. That's right. Okay, we got them all worked up to our end. And this is our moment of truth, or where you decide if you want to turn them back gaucho, or if you're going to put colored interweave and do it with a different string, or if you want to just work your way back, and if you're going to go over 3 or whatever. If I, and this is all in his books and stuff, both these guys, but if I want to go gaucho, I'm going to continue on, make that last pass to the left, and then I'm either going to come up under 2 or whatever I need to do to make that a gaucho. I'm going to come over this one. Make sure I'm right there. but my pineapple is going to come under this cross. So I'm not going to follow it plumb out of my knot and come under. I'm going to go under the cross. Pineapple, I guess, is what we're going to do. Same thing here. I'm not going to yank this thing down in here and have to dig it up or anything later. I work my way backwards because I've already got a set of doubles there. Give myself some nice room. Turn everything back under that cross. Keep my room. My under 2 is becoming the under the 3 that cross. Then this last one, that's the first one we worked. So you got a set of doubles here and a set of doubles there. So that last one you work is going to be over 2 under 2. Okay, so now I'm turned back to have a pineapple interweave. At this point, I'm going to snug these up a little bit and just get them to lay in there nice. I don't like a round-shouldered looking button like you pulled on this thing and everything goes off like this. I like this thing to come up to here, have a square corner, and do the same thing going back that way. So you pull it just enough to where it lays in there, but not that you're pulling it down under this next string. Then you get a good square deal. So now we're just doing doubles. We're going over 2 under 2. And at this time, if I'm just doing a natural colored knot, I don't want to add a colored string or something like that. And I know that I'm going to have to fill in here in a little bit with an over 3 interweave, maybe even just the one string of it. I can turn it back here as I work each string, get my over 3 in there, and then just continue on to do over 2 for the rest of the button and do the same on this end. And when I'm done working them, I'm done. I don't have to put another string in and add my interweave or whatever. And I usually work these a string at a time. So I'll do my over 2, under 2 with each string. And actually there's not going to be a heck of a lot of room in here for an over 3. I probably wouldn't if this was just going to be a big heavy working nose button, or if I had a little bit of room, I might just finish it like this and put a little colored string in there or something. That doesn't bother me to see a smaller colored string than the size of my other string. I don't necessarily like to see 6 or 8 sizes of string on different buttons and everything, but okay, right here, if I've got a fairly short swell like this, that I'm going to turn it back here, because if I went another pass, I can do it anywhere I want. If I went another pass, I'm going to be way down here and too long. So when I make my next over 2, I'm going to come back under this cross. And this is where it's really easy to get lost. It looks like maybe you ought to come out under that cross way back here, but I'm going to just go under the cross and not the doubles. Okay, I've got a set of doubles, which I'll split with this string, but when I turn it back, I'm just going under the cross. And the way I can check myself is my interweave is going to follow this string to my left, and that's an interweave string. These outer strings, because we're doing pineapple, these outer strings are body strings or foundation strings. So my interweave is going to follow to the left of my interweave strings, cross over on the top of it, and follow back down. So anything other than me ending up right here to follow this up is going to be wrong. So check it every time. So over the 2 and under a cross. And that's a pretty easy place to get lost. Then I'm going to do the same here. And what makes it even easier you're coming up between those other two strings. So just make sure you're coming up alongside the next you're coming up in the middle of that cross, but it's putting you next to that next interweave string. Savvy? And I don't pull these singing tight either. Then to add insult to injury, you've got another one stuck in there, so you got to make sure you're alongside that same string again, because that one's going to come up in between there. Okay, so everything's doing the same thing. It can be confusing, but like I said, if you just always make dang sure that no matter if you split those pairs, come across, you end up next to that string that you're going to follow to your left, and it's the interweave string that you're going to go above. It's not one of these foundation strings. Then I'm just going to double this and do my over 2 under 2. Like I said, we're going to run out of room, but
Should have put more tape on there.
that's right. Should have taped the heck out of it and had a big old wad of it under there. And make it black tape so it really, really sticky and
It
fun.
match your hat.
Exactly.
And your rim of your glasses,
Right.
and that one tooth.
I got some gold ones. I don't have the black one, I don't think. So all we're doing is kind of just doing the same thing we did with this whole long knot, but we just turn back. We're adding an over 3, so we're making doubles, and then we're going to come back and split them back down into our knot. So we're done with the over 3 just in this little spot, and then everything else can be over 2. We're just doing the same thing. So now we come just like you would when you add one to a pineapple. You're going to come under that cross.
You're going between the outside bite and that inside interweave bite.
Right. Yep. I need that pair of pliers again, or I'm going to have to use my teeth. Oh, thank you. I could go, once I got this one under there, I could go ahead and work it and get it going on down there. But I usually take this step and do the same thing with all my strings as I go, and just have it all come out the bottom and then take off again. And I'm splitting these doubles too after my first pass. I got to include that. It's no different from putting an over 3 in a scarf slide, or of anything where you're tying a pineapple knot or a heel knot or anything like that. Here she's getting snug. This last one again, I've got a string work there, so it's going to be over these. Till I get to my cross there. Okay, so we've done the same thing. We're all out under that same deal. Now I've got my doubles are going to be over 3. under 3, over 3. We built it all up, building our doubles to 3s. And I may work this one at a time instead of going, but as tight as it is, I might want to. I don't know that we even have to finish it once I do a couple sets, but
I think in my drawing, I only have it so you'd have one extra V instead of 2. You know, 2 jumps.
oh yeah,
Going 2,
right.
I just turned it so it was shorter.
That's just where I turned it back.
Yeah.
If it was just a little bitty narrow thing, that's, yeah, you could turn it back ahead, yeah, ahead of that. But so when I get this down over 3, now here's this little bit of a tricky spot here too. I need to split my doubles, but I need to keep that to the left because my next set of doubles on my under 2 are on that side. So it can get a little tricky here. I need to make dang sure that I keep that there, this here, and when I come up under my 3, I'm back under that set of doubles. So keep everything squared away. If you go anywhere else, you're not going to end up back in the button where you need to be. So that gives me my 3. The same thing, give yourself room there so that everything stays like that. Here's my over 3. Tight as that's getting, that's the only, I'm only going to do that one more time or I'm going to stick a fid right through my hand. So keep that string to your left. Know that you've got to go over 3 and under 3 to get back to our over 2, under 2. Make sure that that thing lays down over there. And you're better off to be up over the top of it if you can. See? If you're under it, it has a tendency to round out there, and I want it to look just like I did add another string. And then we're off and running again, just over 2, under 2 for the rest of my body. And then I'll do the same thing when I come across here and bring these. I'll just come with, I mean, if I didn't want to do anything more with these strings, I could do that and do it backwards coming up through here and just run everything out the end of the knot. But it's generally better on something with some swell here. I'll come in the other way, do the exact same thing, and probably bury those strings when I come up here, up under a bunch of these and come out of here. So then when I rub that narrow spot, it gives me a really good place to hide all those ends. But now we're just do that all the way around and just take off and go again with our over 2, under 2. That makes sense to everybody?
Clear as mud.
And if you make it loose enough, it gives you room to put an extra color in between a long string.
Yes. Yep. I'm really glad I got here. You know, I know that it's been going on for, 4 or 5 years. And a lot of people that I know have come and have been able to make it. I never really have because I'd go to my TCA show and I'd have to get right back home. I'd usually drive down there. And we're always starting to ship calves this, you know, in October is a big month for the ranch. And so I'd always have to hustle home. Well, this year my wife didn't come, so we didn't drive, and I just flew down and decided I'd take an extra day or 2 and come down and really have enjoyed it. It's a really good deal. Like you say, people of all different stages of their journey in rawhide braiding, and I'm just glad I could get down, and a lot of them I knew, some of them I didn't, but get here, and if I can show a little deal here and there, I enjoy that, and I'll also always pick up things everywhere I go. Somebody's always doing something different, and I don't care if I've done it 30 years or 35 years. I mean, at any sort of a gathering like that, you're going to see some little deal that you thought, I'll be darned, that probably worked pretty good. And so I learn myself too. Anytime I show up anywhere or try to teach something, I'm always learning myself, and I enjoy that a lot.